Hello everyone, I'm Riley King and welcome to this week's edition of Meet New Hampshire. And on this week's edition of Meet New Hampshire, we're going to talk about Concord, New Hampshire. So, let's get started right now. If you're from Concord, New Hampshire, you probably know about Concord, New Hampshire. If you're from New Hampshire, you probably know about it as well. And, if you've never been to New Hampshire or never heard of Concord, New Hampshire, you'll learn about it right now. So, let's dive in right now. Concord is the capital city of the U.S. state of New Hampshire and the seat of Merrimack County. As of 2020, Merrimack County, United States Census, the population was 43,976, making it the third most populous city in New Hampshire after Manchester and Nashua. People settled in Concord, New Hampshire in 1659, and the city was incorporated in 1733. The area that would become Concord was originally settled thousands of years ago by Native Americans called the Pennacook. The tribe fished for migrating salmon and other things and used nets and strung across the rapids of the Merrimack River. The stream was also the transportation route for their birch bark canoes, which would travel from Lake Winnipesaukee to Atlantic Ocean. The broad sweep of Merrimack River Valley flood plan provided good soil for farming beans, gourds, pumpkins, melons, and other things. The area was first settled by the Europeans in 1659 as Pennacook. Also, the bend of the river, referring to the steep bends of Merrimack River through the area. On January 17, 1725, the province of Massachusetts Bay, which then claimed territories west of Merrimack, granted the Concord area as the plantation of Pennacook. It was settled between 1725 and 1727. On February 9th of 1734, the town was incorporated as Rumford. It was renamed Concord in 1765 by the governor, Benning Wentworth. Following a bitter boundary dispute between Rumford and the town of Bow, the city name was meant to reflect the new Concord. Citizens displaced by the resulting border adjustment were given land elsewhere as compensation. In 1779, New Pennacook Plantation was granted to Timothy Walker Jr. and his associates at what would be incorporated in 1800 as Rumford, Maine, the site of the Pennacook Falls. Concord grew throughout the 18th century, and some of the earliest houses from this period at the northern end of Main Street. In the years following the Revolution, Concord's central geographical location made it a logical choice for the state capital. 1808, Concord was named the official seat of the state government. And in 1816, the Artists' Statuette Park was commissioned to design a new Capitol building for the state legislature on the land sold by local Quakers. Construction on the State House was completed in 1819, and it remains the oldest capitol in the nation, in which the state's legislative branches meet in their original chambers. Concord was also named the seat of Merrimack County in 1823, and the Merrimack County Courthouse was constructed in 1857 in the North End at the site of the old town houses. Concord's economy changed once again in the 20th century. With the declining railroad and textile industry, the city developed into a center for national politics due to New Hampshire's first in the nation primary, and many presidential candidates still visit Concord area during campaign season. The city also developed an editorial within the emerging space industry, with McAuliffe Space Discovery Center opening in 1990 to commemorate Alan Shepard, the first American in space, from nearby Derry, and Krista McAuliffe, a teacher at Concord High School, who died in 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. Today, Concord remains a center for politics, law, healthcare, and insurance companies. Geographics of Concord. Concord is located in the south central New Hampshire. It is 38 miles north of Massachusetts border and 40 miles west of the Maine border and 54 miles east of the Vermont border and 170 miles south of the Canadian border at Pittsburgh. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 67.2 square miles. 60.0 square miles of it are land, and 3.2 square miles of it are water. Concord is drained by the Merrimack River, Pennacook Lake, the largest lake in the city, and its main source of water is in the west. The highest point in Concord is 860 feet above sea level on Oak Hill, just west of the hill's 970 feet summit in neighboring Loudon. Concord lies with the Merrimack River watershed and is centered on the river, which runs from northwest to southeast through the city. Downtown is located on a low terrace to the west of the river, with residential neighborhoods climbing hill to the west and extending southwards towards the town of Bow. To the east of Merrimack, atop a 100-foot bluff, is flat sand plain known as Concord Heights, which has seen most of the city's commercial developments since 1960. The eastern boundary of Concord, with a town of Pembroke is formed by Sunnacook River, a tributary of Merrimack. The Turkey River winds through the southwestern quarter of the city, passing through the campus of St. Paul School before entering the Merrimack River in Bow. In northern part of the city, the Concord River enters the Merrimack at the village of Pennacook. Concord is 16 miles north of Manchester, New Hampshire's largest city, and 66 miles north of Boston. Villages. The city of Concord is made up of its downtown, including its North End and South End neighborhoods, plus the 4 district villages of Pennacook, Concord Heights, East Concord, and West Concord. Adjacent municipalities, you have Canterbury in the north, Loudoun northeast, Pembroke southeast, Bow south, Hopkinton west, Webster northwest, and Boscawen northwest. Transportation highways Interstate 89 and Interstate 93 are the 2 main interstate highways serving Concord and join just south of the city limits. Interstate 89 links Concord with Lebanon and the state of Vermont to northwest, while Interstate 93 connects the city to Plymouth, Littleton in the White Mountains to the north, and Manchester and Boston to the south. Interstate 393 is a spur highway leading east from Concord and merging with U.S. Route 4 as a direct route to New Hampshire's seacoast region. North-south U.S. Route 3 serves as Concord's main street, while U.S. Route 202 and New Hampshire Route 9 cross the city from east to west. State Routes 13 and 132 also serve the city. Route 13 leads southwest of the Concord towards Goffstown and Milford, while Route 132 travels north parallel to Interstate 93, New Hampshire Route 106, passing through the easternmost part of Concord, crossing I-393 in New Hampshire 9 before crossing the Sunnacook River south into the town of Pembroke. To the north, New Hampshire 106 leads to Loudoun, Belmont, and Laconia. Railroads. Historically, Concord served as an important railroad terminal and station for the Boston and Maine Railroad. The former Concord station was located at what is now the Burlington Department Store on Storrow Street. The station itself was built in 1860, but the fourth and most famous iteration of the station was built in 1885, which had a brick-headed house designed. The head house was demolished in 1959 and replaced by a smaller station. By 1967, all passenger rail services to Concord had been discontinued. For 13 months in 1980 to 1981, MBTA commuter rail ran 2 round trips a day between Boston and Concord. Since then, there has not been a passenger rail service to Concord. In 2021, Amtrak announced their plan to improve new services between Boston and Concord by 2035. local bus service to provide Concord area transit with 3 routes through the city. Also, you have regional bus service provided by Concord Coach Lines, and Greyhound Lines is available from the Concord Transportation Center at 30 Stickney Avenue, next to exit 14 on Interstate 93. The service south to Boston and points in between, as well as North Littleton and northeast to Berlin. Other methods, you have the general aviation services are available through the Concord Municipal Airport, located 2 miles east of downtown. There is no commercial air service within the city limits. The nearest such airport is Manchester Boston Regional Airport, which is only 23 miles to the south. You got media in Concord, New Hampshire. You got the Concord Monitor, Concord, New Hampshire Patch, New Hampshire Bulletin, the Concord Insider, and the Hippo. Also, radio stations in Concord, New Hampshire. You got WKXL 1450 AM News Talk, WNHNLP 94.7 FM Jazz Blues Progressive Talk, WEVO 89.1 FM Public Radio, WCNH 90.5 Classical Music, WJYY 105.5 Top 40, WAKC 102.3 FM Comparatory Christian, WICX 102.7 Catholic Radio. The city is otherwise served by Manchester area station. New Hampshire Public Radio is headquartered in Concord. Television, you got WPXG-TV, Channel 21, Iron Television, and Concord TV, Public Access Television, cable station. Sites of interest, you got the New Hampshire State House, designated by a statue park constructed in 1815 to 1818. The oldest state house in which legislatures meet in its original chambers. The building was remodeled in 1866, and the 3rd story and west wing were added in 1910. North on Main Street is the Walker Woodman House, also known as the Reverend Timothy Walker House, the oldest standing 2-story house in Concord. It was built for Reverend Timothy Walker between 1733 and 1735. On the north end of Main Street is the Pierce Mansion, in which President Franklin Pierce lived in Concord before the following his presidency. You also have Beaver Meadow, also the SNOB, somewhat north of Boston Film Festival, and other sites of interest include the Capitol Center for Arts, the New Hampshire Historical Society, McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center, and public education. You got public schools. The Concord Public Schools are within the Concord School District, except for schools in Pennacook area of the city, which are within the Merrimack Valley School District. Also, you have private and charter schools. Bishop Brady and St. John Regional Schools, and other private schools as well. Post-secondary schools, NHTI Community College and Granite State Community College, the University of New Hampshire School of Law, and Franklin Pierce University as well. And that is the history of Concord, New Hampshire. Thank you for watching this edition of Meet New Hampshire. We'll see you back here next time for another edition of Meet New Hampshire. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and goodbye.